Ooh. Ugh. What's up, y'all? I know this is informal and it's not what I promised to start with, but I really didn't give us a start date. I think we'll have a like the mission statement was like a soft launch, and then we'll have the actual launch. And I'm gonna share this part of my story because I want to let people understand why you should love someone first and then ask questions. Um, Not feeling comfortable in your body is not a solely gender specific thing. Like, there are many kids out there that have different things that happen to them, or are naturally things, or built in social constructs that dictate their behavior. And it's not that it's wrong, and that's why I did it separate from my church, because I'm not trying to hurt my church, because I love my church. I love the people in my church. But in every church, there's going to be people that are the wrong example, but there's other people that are the right example. And the ones that are the right example are the ones that are scared to speak up. And because had I done what I wanted to do so many times, I wouldn't be here to tell the story. But I also believe in God's purpose. And when you look your whole life for that one thing that makes you feel like you belong with everyone, you don't feel excluded. You feel like you can just be yourself and not leave out anything based on social construct or preconceived notions of what something is. You ask questions. You recognize that the people that need the help are not the ones that can get it. Um, but meanwhile, there's prosperity gospel preachers that are saying that everybody's supposed to be wealthy, and then there's other people, and they're taking in everybody's money and buying private jets with them, and you know, make it make sense. But I've had some very dark times in my life from childhood all the way to now, and I don't hate anybody and I don't blame anybody, because all they were doing was telling me what they knew to tell me. And because they couldn't let go of that one verse or that one whatever doctrine, or it's against God or whatever, or that homosexuality is a choice, and people not born that way, or you know and just being afraid to do that. And the reason I believe it's God is because had I not gone through all that, I wouldn't have this story. I wouldn't be willing to share this story. And there's nothing special about me except I have an extraordinary set of skills that I've wasted most of my life. I don't think I totally waste them, because I was still allowed to share my heart with people and still touch people and make people feel welcome. And there's a movement of young people and Christians that have lived their whole life under a certain doctrine or a certain set of rules. And it's not that I'm mad at these people, it's just that we tried to tell people, and every time I tried to have that conversation, it was immediately shut down without having the conversation. So if you don't talk to someone, whether it be a friend of yours or a kid that's going through something and you don't understand it, find somebody who does. Don't just say pray about it or ask God what he wants to do, because some people don't believe in that, or telling people that you'll pray for them and not actually praying for them, or giving somebody a, I don't know. I think y'all know what I'm getting at, but the way my brain works and the reason that I felt like even disheveled, or I wasn't worried about how I look right now because it's not important. No, neither is money, neither is sex, neither is any of it. It's all constructs. And I went through all of that, having to have so much pain, not being able to really tell my story, because if I hadn't gone through it, I wouldn't be able to tell my story. And the key is, there was a time in my life where I questioned my sexuality. I questioned whatever I was here to do, because I'm a child. I'm not supposed to know anything except what I'm taught. And when you're taught that something isn't normal from the time that you're born, then you're going to believe it's not normal. And my brother loved me, and I loved my brother, and we reconciled. But it took so long to do that because he wouldn't listen to me. He expected me to listen to him all the time and take everything that he said as the gospel truth. But I tell him that there are people out there that the church can't help because they don't feel like they can come to the church. And the people that are doing that now and ignoring that are the people that are making progressive churches, where they allow people in different walks of life to come in and listen. And it's not that they're preaching something that isn't scriptural, or maybe they leave it out or whatever, but we also live in a country where most people think that the president is a Christian. And during the campaign, he put out a Bible called the God Bless the USA Bible, and with his name on it, and all these different, you know, weird designs and stuff, like it was some kind of special Bible that you're on this, you're on the right path Bible. And I see it all happening over and over again. And in one of the darkest times of my life, my best friends were gay. And they never tried to make me gay. They never tried to tell me I was wrong about anything. They just accepted me as one of their own, because that's where God put me during that time, because he knew that I needed that, but I also needed this story. But also, I found solace in places that that were deemed unchristian. So, and I've been in church and believed in Jesus and felt Jesus's love, and know what it feels like to have somebody forgive you when you feel like nobody can. Because that's why I think the faith-based rehab programs work best, is because Jesus can forgive you in a way that the world can't. And I learned that in different ways. And I stayed up till 4 in the morning and wrote half of my story, and I wanted to record it. But people have lives and other things come up, and the person that was willing to let me use their equipment has had an interruption that was unexpected, and I respect that. Whenever I have to learn too, because I have some undiagnosed mental health issues, and I have some actual mental health issues. But whenever you talk about that kind of stuff, it's like people exclude you, or and I'm one of the ones working hardest trying to reach people and love people. That's why I would do like me and my brother had the Super Bowl thing, and that was our thing, and that was our bonding time. But my brother wasn't perfect, and none of us start out perfect. But by the end, he was somebody that was just wholeheartedly willing to listen to people, and instead of just telling them. And it took a long time for him to just listen to me, because he'd shut me down whenever I'd get too the main thing is that, sorry, like I said, I'm only doing this because I think it's important, because I think it may be the catalyst that starts everything else. I had to come back home after 4 years of gay people being some of the best people in my life, some of the most beautiful people in my life, and some of the most giving people in my life. I had to come back home and act like they were going to hell. And I couldn't just ignore it. Like I wasn't allowed to by by the social construct, but also by just having conversations still. It took so long, and it takes forever to break a social construct in your mind, because it's what you were taught to believe since you were born. So when I say that I don't judge anyone, I'm also not judging a Christian that believes that, because that's what they were taught to believe, and I can't tell them they're wrong, and they can't tell me I'm wrong. There's no like specific way to love God. Otherwise, we wouldn't have all these denominations and all these like progressive churches that want to be welcoming. But it's funny because there's a video where a trans person is walking across the street and yelling "F Jesus," like "F Jesus," "F your Jesus," and it's a street preacher that's telling them that God loves them, and all this stuff, that they just have to come to Jesus, or whatever. And the person just almost broke down. Like the person that was with them was trying to pull them away so they didn't get a confrontation, because they felt like it was necessary. But then you see the hurt in that person's eyes, and when they say I grew up Catholic and Jesus didn't give me a chance, man is the one that didn't give you a chance. Jesus always gives you a chance. And I don't open a conversation with Jesus. I invite it if somebody else invites it, and I can just have a conversation with somebody before then about their experience, and not immediately say, I don't know, that sounds weird. That's not what I was taught. You're weird. And, and it's not just in public, it's within families. That's why there's so many young people that had the disconnect. And I haven't been able to sleep since this, but like in a good way, you know, because I never felt like I could do this because of what it would look like. And it's not even what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to say, listen, listen to your kids, listen to your friends. Stop telling them what they should believe, you know? Let them figure it out on their own, and they might come back. And it's kind of like the Amish, they they have their rules and their faith and their style of life that's separate from the world. That's what they had to choose to do, to be in the world but not be of the world. That's what the Amish had to do. And when you reach a certain age, you have the Rumspringa, where you go out into the world and experience what the world's really like. Even though you weren't brought up in that world, you can experience it. And most of them, when they go out in the world, the way that they're treated in the world, or the way that people just treat each other, like 90% of them go back to the Amish community, because they felt love there. They felt a communion there that the world doesn't give them. So why would they look for it anywhere else if they had a happy place at home, that they were supportive? And, I understand that it's a human experience or whatever. That's why there is the period where you're allowed to go out to experience, and then it's a choice to come back. Um, so And like I said, 90%, 85, 90% of them come back to the Amish community. And it's so that it's not a forced ideology. It's a, see, like my brain kind of goes all over the place while I have to write stuff down and I ramble a lot because I have like 800 thoughts at the same time and I'm an empath. So my emotions are heightened. They're like, I'll get, I'm not dangerous. I would maybe get frustrated with something, but like hit a wall or something and just, mm, you know, and people calm down. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, I just have a tinge. It's hard for me to keep my emotions in check because everything hits me like a bolt of lightning. And when I actually get the opportunity to tell that story, I think a lot of people might understand that there's so much unnecessary hurt in the world. And to have the darkest time in my life be filled with people that I was supposed to condemn coming back home and wanting to be included in the family and wanting to be part of the conversation, but my brother's like kind of untouchable some ways, but he's also human, and we couldn't relate in so many ways, but we did have a period of time that we did have a normal relationship and we did love each other. And it's funny because I'm not gay and I'm not trans and I'm not any of this. That's why I think God gave me the story and why I believe it is my true purpose. And after all this time, because I would have been dead anyway, I might as well just tell it. And if it's going to send me to hell because I won't tell other people they're going to hell, I think I'll be okay with that. And I already know the blowback. I expect it. And like I said, that's why I separated this from my church because there are good people in my church. They're very very understanding people in my church. The people that are in my church are there to be part of this anonymously if they want to be, and because of that, I'm not naming names and I'm not giving credit. It's not because the credit isn't due. Because if I tell people where it came from, then my views will blow back on them, and I don't want that. I don't want to hurt anybody. That's the point. Is I just want people to be able to have a conversation instead of just being shut out one way or another. Like not in my house and there's true dangers of things like you might discover something that your kid's doing that you don't understand and you forbid it, but maybe, and you might not even have the means to have a conversation or therapy or any of that because the resources are tied up and our our dear leaders are concerned with the economy and kicking people out over anything. But the Democratic Party failed miserably in this last election as well. I'm a registered Democrat, but I don't tell a whole lot of people, and I'm pro-choice, but not like you would think pro-choice. Like it's just common sense, and because the idea that it's all murder and all that stuff, or we can't make a determination of if you are alive in the womb and stuff like that. Instead, we make them feel even worse for something that they're already feeling bad for even thinking about. And they may not even talk to a counselor, if they're scared or if they don't have access to any kind of information or anything like that. And what people will tell you is, well, so what? That's not my people. I don't care. You know, and how American is that to just discount somebody's personal experience because it doesn't line up with yours? And that's where we're dangerously close to when I said that we were going to be fascists regardless. And why people are angry because a lot of people are just behind movements that they don't even agree with or whatever, just to be a part of something and be angry or stir the pot or any of that stuff. And I'm not doing any of that.